There you are.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
How are you?
Lovely to meet you.
Lovely to meet
We've
ya.
never met, hey? We've got friends in common.
Yeah, I know we've
But
never met.
no. How do you
That's
know
crazy.
Catherine?
That is my love.
Okay, deal.
Lovely to meet you.
Lovely to meet you as well. You look amazing.
Thank you.
I heard you drank my whiskey last night. Oops.
I did. Oh my God. So it was like a surprise, and it's my birthday on Friday.
You're
So in my
kidding
head,
me.
I was like, okay, cool. This must be a birthday surprise, but ain't nobody informed. And then I was like, smells good. So we started sipping. It was lit.
It was good.
Thank
Okay,
you
let
so
me tell you a
much.
couple of things about this whiskey before because I've got one right here. The idea was we were going to drink it together.
Uh-huh.
Before we go there, I just want to everyone who, for the thing, I know that you are sponsored by Bacardi, and that is
Mm-hmm.
awesome and amazing. And in no way is this a conflict. This is just a tasting session, really,
Mm-hmm.
for us to get to know each other. So there's no conflict here. But what I sent you from my friends at the Whiskey Brother in Hyde Park there, this is, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if you know this, because I've never tasted one. It's a Taiwanese whiskey. It's very hard to come by.
What?
Um, this one here, this is the one I sent you,
Yes,
Kavalan.
that's the
Kavalan.
one.
Do
Oh
you
my
have it
God,
with you
it's
by any chance?
no, I'm not even home anymore.
Oh, the whole point is we're going to drink whiskey together. You didn't get told that? Oh,
Even today, I was like, are we still doing the interview? Because now I'm not even home and he hasn't come back to us.
oh, okay. Well, I'm going to drink mine then.
I'm so sorry.
There it is. Mine's still unopened.
Mine is halfway there.
How was it? Tell me about it. What did it taste like? Because I've never had a Taiwanese whiskey.
It was actually very nice because when we tasted it, it smells like it's got a lot of years. And then when we tasted it, it was sweet enough to just have on the rocks.
That's oh, yeah. That's my
It was sweet
plan.
enough to have on the rocks, so it wasn't intimidating without dash at all, but it smelled like it's aged well. So from the smell, you'd assume, okay, cool, this is for serious people. And then when you sip, you're like, okay, it's pretty gentle. So it's like, what can I say? Do you know, like bigger bite, a bigger bark than the bite?
Yes.
And then the bite is like so smooth and sweet and like gentle. It's like a buff. When you're dating a buff person and you expect them to be hard and they just
And then
so,
that's nice and
they
sweet and
teddy
soft.
bears. Yes.
Okay, well,
That's literally what I went through.
I'm gonna taste this right now. And again, Moonchild is sponsored by Bacardi, but it doesn't mean she's not a human being, right? She, cheers to you.
Cheers.
Yeah. Well, do you want to drink a Bacardi while you're there? Oh, what you got there? There. Oh,
I
I
got
see you.
Bacardi.
Okay, okay. Cheers to you. This is just for
Cheers.
you. That's my Cavalan. That's your Bacardi. We can.
Oh, yes,
Nice
let's do
work.
it. Yes.
So, first of all, I just want to confess, I'm a little drunk already. It's my kid's sixth birthday today, and it got pretty wild. I was surprised by that.
How did you make it to
So
9 p.m.?
I almost didn't make it. I got to be honest. I had to. They're actually still here. I had to run away and say I've got something to do.
Oh, that's
It's
so
been a busy day.
sweet.
I
That's so
also want to
cool.
just say, I've never met you. I'm a big fan of your work, and My Power is like an anthem in our song and in our house. And I really think that song, I mean, I don't know why it's not the most important song in the world.
Yeah.
And that's where I just want to say that's amazing. Let's just
Thank
start by telling, can you tell me a little bit, I know it's a little bit behind the times, about
Yeah.
how that came to you and what was that like?
Oh my God. Okay, I'll try and make it as short as possible. So
No,
when
don't.
there was
We've got
Global
time.
Citizen, oh great. So when there was Global Citizen, one of my friends was part of like the organizers and stuff, and I got invited to the private party that was happening in a private situation with just like Bay's team, the dancers, the management, everyone, even the co-director. So I was introduced to Kwesi, who's become a good friend of mine now.
Cool.
I was introduced to him at the party after my performance. So I was booked to entertain the Beyonce team. And from then onwards, I remember he
Oh,
wanted
what does it
to.
mean you were booked to entertain the Beyonce team? You just throw that out as if that's a normal thing for someone to get done.
I mean, I think it's because I've lived it. And I was the only performer there, so it really
Yeah.
was. It was really a thing because I think that's what started everything. When I
Mm.
met the co-director Kwesi, he then wanted to meet up with me again for like over dinner and stuff. So I had no idea what it was about. Instead of, I mean, outside of the fact that I knew who it would be
Mm.
about. And so I remember when I got to dinner after being like, I was like 10 minutes late or 30. And and he was waiting and we were about to order and then Wizkid calls me. So I end up going with Beyonce's co-director to Wizkid's session. So without me knowing, he then experiences me at work. He sees how fast I write and how multi-genred I am. Outside of because I got to find out later that when he was in LA, every time you ask people that he trusted in the industry who to speak to when he's in SA, everyone referred them to me.
That's
So
amazing.
when he got, yeah, so even before I met him, he knew about me.
Hmm.
And I remember, okay, so after we met, he went with me to both sessions. I had 2 nights with Wizkid. He was with me there, and we still haven't discussed anything. But now he's basically seeing me at work, which is obviously now that I know was working towards who he was picking. Then fast forward to I started taking him to like live events in SA because I knew now he was doing some research for an African project. I still don't know
Mm.
any details. I take him around, and then I remember fast forward to
So sorry, sorry.
when
What things do you show him when he's out here
live
looking for,
performances, live performance, different
from
artists in
who?
SA. Yeah, because I wasn't selfish about it. I know when it's mine, it's mine. If it's not, it's
Mm.
not. But the openness and knowing that I've got that access for something else that might come later, it's fine. So I was very open, got to meet different artists and stuff.
No,
So
but
I
who?
don't
Who did you
even
send
know
him
he's
to?
looking. I remember
Who?
we
Yeah.
watched Busiswa live. We watched
Oh,
a couple of. I remember he came from Ghana. He came back from Ghana to watch me at Coachella and the rest of the acts. And I remember also when he saw a picture of me, Yemi Alade, and Busiswa together, way
mm.
after I'd been sending music without knowing what it was for, besides who it was for. I remember him saying he wants a contact for all three of us because he feels like it's like powerful African artists. And so even like instances where they were comfortable, where we're just chilling and posting, they're watching and researching and picking who they want. And so I continue. So her summary of her South African tour or African tour was to my verse in Iwoke Par. And when I called Crazy, he was like, "Well, surprise." I was like, "Shit, Shabbat, how did you pick me?" It's just like because I was referred to you first of all. On top of that, your open heart and your work ethic as well
Wow.
just made so much sense. And I mean, this person is like the closest person to Beyonce. And this person, I remember I just left a boyfriend at the time and I was living at Airbnbs for at least 4 months because it was December and I was working. And so there was no time. He'd come to any place I was at. And fast forward, it's a lot that happened in that time. So fast forward to then at Coachella. I was at Coachella last year with Diplo. And a friend of mine from LA, she had a speaker. So while we were walking
I've
on
got
stage,
so many
she's playing my song.
questions. Keep going, but I've got so many questions.
so,
Carry on.
so I told you it was loud. I tried to okay.
No,
So
but
then
you got to Coachella without explaining that either.
oh, okay, I'll let you know.
Okay, all right, we'll come back to Coachella. I'll make a
Yeah,
note.
we'll come back to
Coachella.
it. So I go play Coachella with Diplo and my friend in LA who I drove down with, she had a speaker, so she was playing the music while we were waiting for the stage to start the next day. And Kwesi found me because I remember Beyonce was launching the sports brand first time at Coachella after Coachella.
Right.
And so he followed the music on some I know you're here. He found me and he was like, "Oh, by the way, you're a part of an African project she's doing, but don't tell anyone." So even the people I was with didn't even know. So I screamed inside. On top of that, I was having Billie Eilish's I think he's part of the booking agency. He came to me at my Airbnb at Coachella because he heard about my performance the night before. And I'm like, Billie Eilish's teammate. And he's like, "Well, I heard about you." And so I even asked him, I had a cigarette and a leotard. And I was just like, this guy, I was like, "Who are you?" Because the names you've mentioned for a change, I actually know all these artists, and you're on my WhatsApp. and it was Tom Windish. And he came to see me. I was like, wow, okay, cool, great. And so he was like part of the people that because I've collected my team all over the world. It's probably
Mm.
my career is most set in the world. But anyway, after Coachella, I get back to SA. So now when I got back in SA, I started having to say, no, I didn't come immediately because I remember the last song I did melodies for was My Power and the verse. It was the last song, but I'd done so many songs, so I didn't even know which project, which part of it I'm going to be a part, which songs I'm going to be a part of. But I gave it my all because this is part of like my ultimate dreams as a musician, and I feel like my global is starting, and I'm ticking this box now. That means the world is the oyster. Then. And also, I haven't signed a non-disclosure, by the way. I'm quiet because I'm going through the most with myself that I'm going through this. Right? It's not real, but it's real. So after Coachella, I start sending a lot of music. Start sending a lot of music. I remember the last
Sorry
song
to
I
interrupt. I
said.
just want to ask you: have you got a management team at this point, or how are you dealing with this stuff?
I've got
Have
a
you got a
management
management team?
team.
Yeah.
I've got a management team based in London.
Okay. Oh, so you
So
don't have it. All right, right. So you're dealing with it all through them.
Coachella, I did on my own. I said to them, because I'm a hustler. Like I've been independent for the longest time. So
I've got
I
questions
spoke to
about
them.
this as well.
I said, trust me. I'm going to make this work. I'm going on that stage. Let's go. Then I booked for Coachella. I booked the ticket and I
Mm,
was on that stage. I came back. They were like, okay, cool. We knew you hustle. We didn't know how far because we know how
rock and
strict it
roll.
is there. But I was
Virtual high
there, like
five for
meeting
that
your Wiz
one.
Khalifas, not knowing it's them. It was crazy. It was so fast, so crazy. And I remember, what's the girl who does Boot Up? Her manager, Tina Fey. She was there. She woke up to come watch me because she heard I was there. And it was just insane. Because, in fact, the video I have is from Anderson Park's road manager. He watched me, shot me, and then posted it on Instagram. That's how I got to document because everything was so fast. It was a hustle and it was a win because I didn't
Wow.
fly there for nothing. And it was that
Mm.
self-investment thing that I've always done. And any level I'm at, I always invest because I know it's going to grow and be bigger. So now I think I signed a non-disclosure maybe 2 weeks before the album came out, and I was already quiet. And so when it came out, it was insane. Now the video part. So we shot the video like last year, and we were flown in LA. We had to even lie about our locations. We couldn't shoot next to each other with Musisa because people would assume if we're both overseas, it's probably for that. And so
Oh,
we
so they
kept
had to
quiet.
be like all secret, top secret
Yeah.
about what was happening.
Even our check-in,
Shakes.
we didn't check in together. So
Fuck.
because then we were there, we did the things. I even missed my flight back. While I wasn't coming back,
Oh,
I
I
was
lost
so
you.
satisfied. I didn't want to party. I didn't want to do anything. I was just like quiet. And I'm not quiet. I was like satisfied. Like I was full for the day. I was full for the year. It was amazing. It was amazing.
And at any point in that, did you do when you shot the video? Did you ever cross paths with Beyonce for this, or?
We were holding hands. We were together. She even said to me, I've got the best ad libs in the world. To a point where even the other song, I think it is Black Parade, that's the part
Yes.
that says, it's literally me. And so I've sent so much stuff.
Fuck.
She's probably going to have more samples later. And it's like business. And it's awesome for me because
This is
I'm
unbelievable. Good for you.
breaking boundaries so that young kids can know that everything is possible and where you come from, you can represent it. Because now I've got number one songs on BBC Radio 1. I'm hosting on BBC Radio 1. And
Didn't you
all of
do
that is
something with
known
the
through.
Gorillaz as well?
Yes, I just dropped the album. I recorded that
Fuck.
last year when I was touring. Um, because first time I actually worked with Damon was 2018.
Don't just say it like Damon. You have to. You can't
I've
just
got the
say,
same
"Oh,
tattoo as
Dame."
him because our first project we ever made, we made a tattoo backstage and
Oh,
a lot of songs. And then a year later, 2019, I was playing, I think, Budapest or end of the year,
mm,
2018, after meeting them beginning of the year, and performing with them in SA. I was in Budapest. I was doing a festival, or Ziget Fest. I don't know, somewhere in Europe. And then I got to that festival and the Gorillaz was also on tour. So I did my show on my day. When they got there, then they asked me to come join them on stage. Let me tell you something. It
no,
was my first
no, 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 no.
80,000 people crowd featured by the Gorillaz on stage on their tour.
That is fucking Crazy.
And because Damon knows my work ethic, because his statement was after the first time he met me, he was like, "This is a global superstar waiting to happen," literally. And so that relationship was amazing because I mean, when I got to the first time I met him, I got there a day later than every other artist that was chosen. And then I made 10 songs in the 3 days. And even with songs that were done, I'd get in there, make a verse, and they'd have to kick someone out because I just killed it. And I knew that his team was there, and therefore I will never waste an opportunity. So I
So,
made 10 songs.
when you say kick someone out because you killed it, you mean you wrote something so good that they had to
I'd
eject
come to a
someone from
finished
the
song
song?
and kill it. Every genre. I got to work with my Otella Queens in that same moment. And now
Oh,
I've got a song with
love
the
the
guys,
Martell
and it's like
Queens.
legendary as F, right? So I remember in that moment, I knew that his team is not going to leave without working with me. And guess what? The curator of African Express, which is run by Damon, is now my global manager. I killed it that much in that week. And it's that thing of like grabbing every opportunity because you never know. And you never take advantage of anyone that's there because you never know.
You
So
don't know who's
giving it
there.
your all the time and being hungrier than before when you actually know. That's even a privilege to know. So when you get to know, how are you going to waste time when Gorillaz management is here? You want them to manage you. And the only way they're going to manage you, your coolness is not enough. But your
You
work
blow it the
ethic,
fuck up
you
one night.
fuck shit up
Yeah.
solid to a point where even like South African artists that were a part of me would make jokes like this is Damon Albarn featuring Moonchild and various artists, and I didn't know they had beef until I had to perform every second song at the launch. I was in every second song. Out of the 14 songs that I made, 10 have made it.
What?
And this is multi-genred across all borders. So I'm like, we've had the same 24 hours. You've even had an extra day. I came a day later, made an album. So don't fault me for my hunger because we're obviously not on the same space when you've got the same time and breathing the same air.
Tell me about your. How are you, this human being? Who? Tell me about your parents.
Well, my mom was a single mother who put me on stage when I was 4 months.
You're from PE, hey?
Yeah, I'm from Port Elizabeth.
I was born in
And
PE.
is it? Where?
In Glendinning I think it's called.
Where's that?
It's like I can't remember. There's one hospital that everyone was born at. I was born at that hospital. I can't remember the name of it now.
Not, no, Mercantile.
No, try one more.
Oh, Livingstone.
Livingston. Yes, I was born in Livingston.
Oh, is it? New
Yes.
Brighton is close to Livingstone. I was born there too.
Oh.
Yep. But like in PE, I grew up with a mother who was single, and she put me on stage from when I was 6 months.
Where was your
So I was
dad?
like a
Or
catalog
where was the
baby.
dad? Where was
Hmm?
where was your dad?
He's alive in PE.
But they weren't together, you mean?
Mm-mm.
Did you
He
know
was
him?
married to. Excuse me. Yeah, I know him.
Oh yeah. Okay,
He's a
cool.
funny guy. And then from there, at 4 years old, I was like a face for a brand because I was modeling and stuff. From there, I went to ballroom and
What, at
Latin
4?
dancing. Yeah, at 4, I was already a face for like pep stores.
Wha-
And then, so I couldn't compete because I was now the girl who pitches and wins. And then from there I went to ballroom and Latin dancing. So my mom basically brought me up where art was expression to a point where I didn't date until even after matric. I lost my virginity after first year. I was never curious about that because my time was always occupied. And
With what?
so
Just with like
with
modeling
ballroom and
and
Latin dancing. So
oh, with
it's
dancing,
school,
dancing,
and then
dancing.
I go to rehearsal, school rehearsal, and then I'm traveling around the country
Were you
competing.
ambitious or were you just following the rules?
No, I'm
Why were you
fortunate
dancing so
enough.
hard? You in
No,
love with
I think I'm
dancing?
just no. I think I was just fortunate enough that because my mom wasn't allowed. She came from a very like educated, a strict corporate space. And so she wasn't allowed to be that expressive. And then
Hmm.
fortunately for me, my brother, he used to win distinctions and all that jazz in school, but when he was done with the degree, he opened up a studio. And then with me, she was like, don't even waste your time trying to please people. Just do you once because we're wasting money if you're going to do that for props. And I already know what your talent is because I used to tear clothes to a point where she'd buy me fabric because I always deconstructed. So my personality, she My mom was awesome because she put me on stage and expression was already art. And therefore, for me, it wasn't strange. And then another part, I think my rebellion comes from the fact that when I was younger, if she sees me walking behind a group of friends, she would scold me for following. And I never understood it as a kid because it's like, we were just going to the shop. She's like, but it starts with little things. If you're not in the same leading group with followers at the back and studying how to be followed, you're always going to be a follower. And I don't bring up followers. So be followed or be heading everyone.
Your mum
And so I
sounds
think I grew up
amazing.
very rebellious. Everyone was having sex. I was like, I'm not going to have sex. But I knew all the sex terms because I watched porn, but I wasn't curious about sex. Um, my mom wasn't rich, but she
What were you
always
just watching porn and taking notes, or what were you watching
I
porn
was
and not
just watching it
interested?
for entertainment. It was my brother's
Oh.
stash, and I remember figuring out that the kitchen door key opened his room key. And so I'd sneak in there, and his room door was loud. So if someone knocks in the front, I'd have to tell them to go around so I can open the door, put the cassettes back under the bed, lock, and then it was the whole process. I'd even use my fairy tale book to hide it from the window lace curtain so that no one sees. It's paranoia. But I wasn't curious about sex to a point where
Hmm.
when people would talk about people that were engaging in sex wouldn't know what a cock is. I'm like, guys, that's what you're having sex with. It's a cock, it's a penis. And they wouldn't believe me because I'm a virgin. So I was just like, whatever. So, but I was never necessarily curious. I had FOMO. I was never sent to a shebeen. I was never sent to buy cigarettes. I was very sheltered. And so, to a point where when I did run away from home at 19, no one in my family believed I'd be successful because they knew how sheltered I was. But fortunately for me, I also was left with my mom's hustling mentality to a point where I'm literally the only one successful from my mother's kids, and I'm the youngest. So it's like the most craziest thing, but it's the most amazing thing as well. So
Why did you run away?
my uncle sexually harassed me. Funny enough, yesterday I got threatened. I got death threats because of one in-depth interview that I did where I was speaking about what I've gone through since running away. I'm 32 now, turning 33 on Friday, since 19 and haven't gone back home. Haven't gone back home, but winning, you know. So
We don't
they
have
saw
to
the
talk about it if
interview
you don't
and
want
they
to.
didn't like. No, I'm not scared of anything. It's my truth. And if I stand for anything, it comes with what it is. If I die for anything, it's from my truth. I'd rather whatever. It's my truth. And fortunately, I work hard enough to make music that backs it up, right?
You don't seem
So
like someone that people shut up or tell what to do.
no, I
You
wouldn't be
don't seem
myself.
like that, but
I wouldn't be myself if I did. I'm not scared of anything, and hence I can be myself and not give
mm,
up on fighting for what I fight for because of what I've gone through. And I know what I've gone through, where people have taken my power, where I was innocent, where I protected perpetrators, where I was disempowered because I would not be protected, where I was told I was a liar. And fortunately, because of my privilege of being on stage, I know I will be who I needed when I was a kid.
mm,
Someone who's going to reassure me, make me feel fine. Because at home, it's easy and normal to call someone is dudla, which is a fatty. And that's normal, but they don't think about the after effects when they're older and date a man who tells them that it's a favor to love them because even the safe space is not safe enough, but there's also not a song that reassures me. So I think unconsciously, and now that I'm conscious of it, I've literally played a role that I needed when I was younger. And therefore, I can never be tired because it's my entire existence. What else will I represent if I don't represent the power that I own outside of it being taken before? Because I know that experience is not from observation or thinking I
mm.
know it all or just empathy or sympathy. It's from understanding and knowing that, okay, cool. I know the mental space you get into. I know what you're faced with. I have an idea from experience. I may not necessarily know entirely, but how I speak of it is more connecting because of that experience without making you cry. So my whole existence is how do I empower? Because funny enough, like last week I went away to go start working on my album, which I'm dropping next year. So I took a week away to just do a camp. We got this house, got the producer and my road manager, and the whole time I was making music there, it was relaxed, it was cool, it was great. And then I remember when I came back, I even forgot my point. I just see pictures of 20 things at once when I'm talking about one. Please remind me.
We're basically talking about. First of all, you were talking about speaking your truth, and you were bringing out about that's who you are and how you are as speaking your truth. I'm not quite sure how we got to your album, but I was enjoying every minute of it.
I was sort of, oh, yes, yes. So my album, because I see a shrink on Mondays. Like I know it's a
Right.
lifestyle thing. Like a verbal diary, everyone needs it. And she always told me about like how when are you gonna be vulnerable about your mom's death, da, 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 and all that jazz. And what I noticed was when I was writing this week, for a change, I could be vulnerable, but I'm not crying to the end because my biggest mission is whatever the adversities, there's a way out, and you can be successful as different as you are, as vocal as you are, as you know what I mean, as you are. And so I was able to do that. I was able to tap into that in the first verse, but I had to remember in the second verse because when I listen to my music as well, I need to be empowered as well. When I feel weak, I always go back to my music because I don't really play music. I play Beyonce and myself. And I told her, I was like, yes, I was vulnerable enough, but it's not going to make you cry, but you will feel it because I don't like crying about the world because it's like whatever you've gotten, it's how you choose to flip it. We've got yin and yang, and there's always a positive that you can find there. But if you're given a yang and you treat it like yang when it could be yin to be positive for you and your growth, then it's what it is. You know, like it's excuses to say my family doesn't support me. Your family doesn't support you. Okay, win to say that I'll show you that I can win. If your family supports you, then win to say thank you for supporting me. So whatever you're afforded with, it's your choice to make it work. But I remember in the last verse, and I noticed this in the moments where I am vulnerable, which is very rare, I always still empower in the end of the song because I don't want you to think, I don't like people that think sadness all the time.
Well, you don't have to be sad to be vulnerable. If you want to express
That's
something,
it.
I mean, I'll tell you, you're reminding me of something, and I know we haven't known each other very long,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we could be friends just from the conversation so far. But
Mm-hmm.
you're reminding me of something. Um, some of the like to me, some of the most powerful people in the world are. Oh, something weird is going on. Just give me 1 second, sorry, and then I'm going to carry on. Something weird
Okay.
happened. One, two. Ah, okay. Oh, I've got a weird. Can you hear a weird double thing? No.
Mm-hmm. You're
So
still
like
clear.
there's Bruce Lee. Like I love Bruce Lee.
Mm-hmm.
I'm obsessed with Bruce Lee and I'm obsessed with Muhammad Ali. Those are and Michael Jackson and a few other people. But one of the things that Bruce Lee always said that I see as a quality in truly great people and what I feel in the stuff that you're saying. And he said like everything you need. You know, I don't know how to explain this. I'm trying my best. Have you ever watched a Bruce Lee film?
Yes.
Or have you ever watched a Muhammad Ali fight or a Michael Jackson concert?
Michael Jackson concert.
Every single move has emotional content. Everything has, whether it's happy or sad, it is so present. It's aggressive. It's powerful in every single little thing. And that is to me a very unique quality of an artist, and to me what you've described and how you approach your music expresses that feeling to me. Like it's not about like, oh, I'm going to sing a sad song. It's about bringing the power to the thing you're trying to express. That's what you remind me of because it's how you talk.
Thank you.
You just like Bruce Lee.
I did say in the Beyonce verse, me Nandili Ninja.
Nice.
That is so. Do you
Amazing.
know what's crazy that I also noticed? It's not even like a blowing horn thing, right? When I started like paying attention to like grades and all that jazz, and then also paying attention to the downfall. One of the main reasons I started seeing a shrink was because I could see the greatness in me, and also now thinking of how do I change the ending because I do have baggage, which is probably a part of my magic with the music, right? Now, how do I maintain empower? How do I maintain it empowering me more than my baggage that helps the music fuck me up? And I was just like, I think the common denominator was the fact that we carried our issues. They brought us to a point, and then we break at a point where it's the most crucial in our careers. And so,
Mm.
therefore, I do need to invest in a shrink because if I have a verbal diary, I can deal with things better. You know, sometimes it's not what someone says, it's what's in between it because you end up not necessarily, I mean, you're human, you're going to be pissed off about things, but you have a level of understanding where you can decipher something not being about what is being vocalized but it's now the body language and it's how it's being said where you get to gauge. I think you become more conscious of words and how they're being used more than someone, because a lot of people, and a lot of people that don't have the advantage of doing that, of seeing someone that helps in expressing their emotions. Like sometimes you're uncomfortable about something and you don't know how to say it's a boundary, then automatically you accuse someone of cheating because you don't have the words to express that discomfort, and you don't even not trust your partner, but there's something, and because you don't have the words for it, you use some other words. And that's just the saddest part, because you break up relationships, you break up a lot of things, and it's based on your past, your disadvantages, and how you don't know how to communicate, because it's literally all communication.
I would say it's largely the third one first. Your past comes into it, but the communication is the most important part.
Yeah,
You can't,
it changes
but
everything, because that's how
but
you get to open things up.
aren't you a lethal, like a brilliant communicator? Is my question, because what if you're writing so fast? What is your process when it comes to writing music?
I think I can. It depends. So I can walk into a studio, I hear a metronome, I can write a story. But for me to write a story, I think what makes it easy for me is you can give me a word, and that word for me, I can picture it, and I have a whole setting, and then it becomes easy for me because I literally translate what I saw in my head. And then the conscious part comes with, so in South Africa, for instance, my thought process is okay, go in. Attention span is the first thing. So I see the picture and I think of how do I treat it as a sonnet to express this emotion, touch more people that don't have the attention span, and with the most basic English, so that
Okay,
it's
give
not
me an
for the.
example, just because so I understand. So let's take a subject that's on the table right now.
For instance, Make. I was in studio with Pori, and he said, and my figures that I was doing the album, and I was supposed to be featuring there, and the song was Makelwane or something like that. So they gave me the word, I heard the song, and then I created my whole narrative in my head. And then I just put that picture into words, which is what makes it easy for me. I'm a picture person, I remember in pictures. So it makes
And
life
you
easy.
you write this down, or is it just pouring out of your head?
No, I see it in my head and I translate what I see in my head on paper.
So you physically write it down. You don't record it on your phone. You write it down in words.
I write on the spot. I make music in 10 minutes. Give me a word, because I talk a lot of shit. I think it's also a part of the creation, because I generally naturally talk a lot of like say anything, I've got an answer for it. So I think it also plays a huge role in the fact that you just give me a word. If I picture it, I've got a story to tell you.
You've got an
Tell me
opinion
about
on
a bird,
everything. That sounds very familiar. I'm
talking.
just like that.
Yeah, it's like pictures. Like I'm a picture person, and so it makes my life so easy. And a lot of people always get shocked because they think someone writes for me. I remember when I went to Cape Town to write for the Antwoord's album, and I remember on tour then last year after Coachella, we were on tour way after writing the album. So at Coachella, I did my music. I recorded with Diplo at his house firstly before we did Coachella, and then from there they heard the song, and Ninja's like, "Yo man, you didn't write that song." I was like, "Ninja, I've been writing your album. I write every genre. What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Wait." I was like, I really do. Like, I thought you knew me. That means there's still a lot of room, which is fine for me because for as long as you're curious, I've got business. And he just wanted to get on the song. And now because we're keeping it for the album, we'll see how we do with it. But like Diplo is playing a huge role. I know I'm going to be going back to LA to go finish the album because it's very nice and easy to record in his house, you know? And he's very chilled. So we'll like play strip clubs in Miami and stuff like that. Like he's awesome.
What life are you living? You're blowing my mind.
My wildest dreams. And I've just done.
What was it like working with the Antwoord?
It was crazy. It was crazy. It was crazy amazing because knowing the people and knowing the genius that comes with the creativity was just like, whoa, okay. It was crazy. It was amazing. I mean, I remember I had a lot of these one of the moments actually on tour because we did like, I think 10 countries. And I remember being in a Scandinavian country, and it was majority white people in the stadium, and it's white oppressed people in that country. So now I'm this black girl in a leotard standing on stage in a stadium filled, and I'm like, if people traveled more, they'd know so much more and complain less. Because when I was there, they looked at this black girl from South Africa as freedom.
Amazing.
where people were kissing me on the lips. Girls would kiss me on the lips, and security is like, it's illegal. They did not care, and it's illegal. It's illegal, and it's just like I'm being attacked. I'm getting even like it was just crazy. It was the most craziest experience where I know that I will never be pressured by December in South Africa for a check. The world is your oyster. That's why I can take a week. Well, now I'm glad because people kill themselves for not having a hit song in SA, and I've got the world to express my entire artistry because it's not limited to one genre. And knowing that is bliss because, I mean, right now I just done a deal with a UK bank that's starting up. I've got shares in that bank, and it's like a growing
What?
thing. It's a UK bank. I'm known in the UK for Xhosa verses. I'm number one in the UK, and it's just like the craziest thing. But the crazy thing is that I wrote all this stuff down with regards to what I want with my career
Mm.
and where I'm going with my music. And the more it happens, it's like, oh shit, oh shit. It's still surprising because it's like the magnitude is insane.
Mm.
At the same time, it's what I wrote down and what I saw myself as.
Whoa, 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 whoa. What do you mean you wrote it down and you saw yourself as this?
I wrote down everything. I wrote down Beyonce, I wrote down Diplo and Gorillaz as
When?
part of the.
What? Just give me some details here.
Okay,
When?
so I write down my plans. For instance, when I was still like just being played on 5FM, even if I had a number one on 5FM and I wasn't played on any other station, where I was playing majority alternative festivals in SA and not commercial, and I was doing international at the same time. What was the question again?
Why? You told me you wrote down all of these things that you're living.
Then I started notice. Okay, so in Durban, before I moved to Joburg, I said I want to be able to play every festival in the world and drink a quart in a tavern. Then I started traveling.
Beautiful. I like that.
And then once I started traveling, I think in my third year, as I saw my flowers start to grow from the seeds I'd planted, and this is still independent, and I start
Well,
thinking of 20 things in once.
it's okay. Just there's no pressure here. Say whatever you want
Yeah.
to say.
After those seeds I'd planted, yes, writing down. Um, Now I knew that I wasn't satisfied with just the international because initially I was talking about it as my idea, not knowing the
That it was
experience of it.
possible. Yeah.
No, I knew it was possible.
Hmm.
I knew it was possible. If they asked me, what would you tell your 18-year-old self? I'd say the world told me I was overbearing and dreaming too much. And I'd say, girl, you are on the right path. You were right to dream the way you do because that's what makes you you. So my 18-year-old self felt the same. My 19-year-old self who ran. I ran saying, I will get the biggest magazine to name and shame my uncle. And I feel like this interview, after all these years, is the first one. I've spoken about this. They've blocked me on Twitter because this is the one that touched them. And but for me now, it's not even about that anymore. For me, it was about
Hmm.
the experience of being able to relate. And I had to go through it, but it makes me who I am. Anyway, so writing down, I remember noticing that thing, and I wrote down in 2016, from March to August, I'm going to have 3 number one singles. I'm going to do collaborations in SA and da 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 da. All of that happened in 2 years. I think it happened in 2018 or end of 2017. Then I had 3 hit songs, commercial. And there was not necessarily a
Wow.
strategy with regards to how I'm going to get the songs, but I
But
knew
there was
what the
will.
plan was to get the songs. I didn't want to change. I wanted to speak to someone who was already speaking to mainstream media in South Africa. And therefore, I was just change in the mainstream space.
Hmm.
And that was my biggest thing. And when I won that, my next one, I remember, I think with about Beyonce, I wrote maybe 2015 or something like that, that I will, in my ultimate in my career is Beyonce, Diplo, and Gorillaz, like my top 3 ultimates. And the
Oh,
craziest things is the fact that the access I have to all these 3 people that love my music too. And I know them through them loving my music.
that's great. Let me just ask you this question. You make it sound so simple, but we both know the hustle is real. What do you think were the things that made you I mean, other than having a plan, because that's not
Yeah.
enough. What are the special ingredients that managed to break those doors open?
Um, Googling,
Well,
Google.
Googling's not going to get Beyonce to phone you or the
No, that
Gorillas.
was after. I mean, that was after the stretch. That was after the stretch. But like, it was a lot. It was a lot. But I feel like the one thing that's kept me going is every song I've ever made. It always felt like it was hope and change for me, to a
Mm.
point where my dreams I've never had an expiry date, because anytime I'm afforded an opportunity, I grab it with both hands and the change will come because I give it my all. So for as long as I think there's change with every song, the years are adding on and I'll only have to think about it in conversation. Oh snap, it's my 13th year now. And but in the 13 years, there was no pressure of there was the reality of being of hustling. There was the reality of tucking my tummy in 6 months pregnant, waiting tables and lying about pregnancy. There was the realities that I think you end up forgetting outside of the things that pushed you to just focus on the goal outside of what the world is doing. Like where I wasn't scared of asking people for anything because I don't care what they're saying. I'm doing this to get to where I'm going. And so if they're
Mm.
talking shit, it's fine. I ain't even hearing that. And if I hear it, great, I'll get another accommodation. And knowing that I gave it my all with every single thing was hope for me. And not having pressure of people asking me when it's going to happen. I mean, that pressure was already with myself, but it wasn't enough to make me. I've quit so many jobs. I'm like, I would take jobs just to be able to get to my gigs. And the moment I have a gig outside, I quit the job because I've realized a lot of people will think about security and then the job. And in my head, I'm always like, a job is easy to find. I'll just walk in. I'm witty. I'll get the job. But my dream time is going. I'd rather focus on that because if I get a job to sustain, then I'm going to be constantly sustaining because I'm growing and purchasing more stuff. And then,
Time
for,
wasting
I mean,
is not in your
literally,
vocabulary, right?
pardon?
Time wasting. That's not something that you know anything about. You've never heard of those words before.
No. And you know what I'm grateful for in the years of hustle? Now, the same advantage that I have, I mean, against so many artists is the fact that from writing for reggae bands, from opening for Mambu Simplongo, doing the jazz spaces, from coming from the hip hop space and poetry, which is a good part of my storytelling and commercial. Um, it's literally honed this thing that people are surprised by, and for me it's normal that I don't have patience for someone who takes a week for a song. It's like, guys, it's easy, picture it and write down your picture. Do you know what I mean? So it's like it makes me I mean, I have to be told about it. For me it's normal, but I
Mm.
know those 14 years have helped in this reality now, because this reality is so special, it's so fast, it's so amazing,
Because
it's so
you're a
shocking.
well-oiled machine now.
I've done more than 10,000 hours now.
Yeah.
And it's like, I believe in myself. On top of that, I ain't scared of anything. So
Mm.
believing in myself, not being discouraged by anything, and my rebellious attitude has always helped me. If they didn't understand it, my first album in 2015 that came out half of that album was developed in 2007 when everyone was like, "What the hell is this music?" And I still kept it. Even in my hunger, I never signed in desperation. I never signed in hunger, because that's when you put yourself in rubbish, because you're not reading or getting assistance because you're struggling so much, you want to get out of it. So they go from, okay, cool, so you're getting 100,000 rands a month, but you're getting nothing. It's like, oh, amazing. But you don't know that even though they're investing so much, they know they're going to get that. When you're making 1 million a month, you're still getting 100,000 because you signed a 5-year deal from when you were desperate to this time. You're not even negotiating now because you're operating in hunger. Desperation is
But
also a
hang on,
big enemy.
you know this now. Did you know this then? I mean,
I
this is
never
one of the
signed
questions I
because of
wanted to
that.
ask you earlier. Was that
Yeah.
you are amazingly independent as an artist, as successful as you are, and I love that about you. But I'm
Thank you.
interested to get your
Yeah.
headspace around that.
So I remember I was signed when my album came out. I was signed to a label. It was an indie label. They were amazing because Carl Anderson is amazing. And I remember he had left for iTunes that time. They just
Oh,
snatched
so
him.
you were did you get signed to Just Music
Of
back in the
course,
early days?
yes.
Right, I
I
didn't know
signed to
that.
Just. And so Carl had a whole idea of what to do. Da, 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 da. And I feel
And
like it wasn't
then
even
he
their fault. It
vanished.
was so different. When he vanished, they didn't know what to do with me. And I
Yeah.
remember it was my first time playing South by Southwest. It was my first time playing in Cannes. It was my first time playing in Spain, Primavera. And I'd hustled these things on my own with a
Mm.
label. And I remember feeling like, oh my God, I remember getting a sponsor involved because of these bookings on my own, right? And I was signed. And I remember we had an amicable conversation. Like, I don't necessarily fight. And I told them, you know what, like, I'm not going. So I asked for like, I think I asked for a specific amount from a brand, and that brand was like, yes, they gave me that specific amount. And then my label was like, no, they're a platinum company, they must give you more and stuff. I'm like, but I knocked on that door with a specific amount they said yes to. And so I was like, okay, you know what, instead of messing up my independent relationships where I can push on my own, let me just be released from here, because I can see they're struggling, and I understand. It's okay. It's nothing personal, but I'd rather push on my own because I think I can
So,
do more for
what
myself.
do you mean released from here? Did you buy yourself? You. What do you mean by released from here? How did
From
you
the
got out of the
label, I
job?
got released. It wasn't even drama, no fights. It was
And the
realistic.
masters from your previous stuff came with
I
you.
literally just, I've got them.
Oh, cool.
I'm smart.
I can tell. I'm not. I don't have any
I've got the
doubt.
masters. I've got the masters of the album. That's why I just re-released it with a new
Mm.
cover and stuff through my new label.
Yes.
Because that's how fine it was. It wasn't a
Mm.
fight. It was just reality.
Mm.
And so we're still cool. So from then onwards, Google, and like researching, and then doing like festivals and stuff, and then pushing independence, because I know like Red Bull's really had my back with regards to me owning my music and still knowing that I'm first preference for sync deals. So it's always been like, okay, cool. I also look at adverts because I know that's a check outside of performance, jingles and all that jazz. And that's, I credit it to all those 14 years, all the mess ups, all the theft, all the abuse, all that jazz has equipped me for this strength and knowledge at
Incredible.
this point. So whatever I go through that I haven't experienced before, then I learn for the next one. But there's so much more that I won't go through because of those lessons when I was broke and just pushing for music, you know?
This is not. I mean, if it doesn't have, this can be a business answer, not necessarily. I mean, earlier you mentioned abuse, and I'm not going there unless that's where
Yeah.
you want to go. My question is, making mistakes is like the best lesson in life you could ever learn, and fuck knows I've done a good job at fucking shit up. What what do you think is probably the biggest um sort of lesson you've had to learn the hard way that have made you into the incredible? I mean, this you are so street smart. The stuff you're telling me about, I know guys who've been in the industry for 20 years who don't speak the way you're speaking. What
Mm,
is the thing that has made you like who you are? Do you think the worst thing that has made you the best part of you?
yeah, I've had so many experiences. I think the last one was probably being kicked out after so many years of hustling with my 5 months old twins by the baby daddy saying he's not the father, and I'm supposed to be dropping my first EP with the label after so many years in 2 weeks. So I had to do the shoot, and it stalled. And when he did that, and it was also based on insecurity because it turned out he is, obviously. um I remember he looked at me and he said, I'm not the father of these kids. They your manager's kids. They look like him. And I'm not going to play daddy. I can't stand you. Please leave with
Wow.
your kids. And I figured something out, still dropped, did the things, da, 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 da. And I remember laughing. I looked at, like, from like, when you just like can't help. You're like, there's nothing I can do about this. I looked at him and I laughed and I said, the day you take responsibility, your wife, aka your mother, will be dead. Fast forward to when the twins were
Whoa,
5,
what does
maybe
that
like two
mean?
and a half years ago.
Sorry, what does that mean? What you just said?
I said, because she's the one who started the story about him not being the father, the kids not looking like him,
His
and all
mother.
that. His mother. So he
So you
believed his
said to
mom.
her,
I said to him,
you said to him, what did you say to him?
the day you take responsibility or want to be a father, your mom, aka your wife, will be dead.
That's hardcore.
And those were the last words I left him with. Then fast forward to the day of the paternity test. 4.5 years later. I think they were 5 or 5.5. And
So he hadn't
we
come
drove to
back.
the
You
hospital.
raised them yourself for those 5 years
Yeah.
with no. He wasn't around at all.
He kicked us out. He said it's not his kids.
Fuck. Okay.
And so 4.5 years later, he does the paternity test. And we go pick up the results in the morning, and I read the results, and I'm like, I knew this, because I know when like when you haven't been messing around. So he reads his, and he asks me, "Is yours the same?" I'm like, "Ah, you're dumb now," because it's literally a copy of the same thing. Then we get into the car, and I just kept quiet, and the songs by Mendoza played, like "Hloniphi Life Boy," "Hloniphi," like "Respect Life," and then I turned up the volume. I was like, "Ah, it's the universe." And then I got home, and I remember it was my backing vocalist at the time. He's a hype man. He was like, "Why aren't you mad? Because you're really crazy." And I was like, "I've cried enough. His life is going to change." Then my cousin calls me later that day to say his mom died the morning of us getting the paternity test. He still hasn't told me about that till today. Because it was the last words I left him with. And it was literally
Okay,
just hurt and the universe.
so how has that event shaped who you are today, other than being some weird prophet, Sangoma, crazy person?
It's really, I mean, the motivation was to be able to just like win. Like reminders of that you're on your own is also a reminder to not be comfortable and like continue winning. So I feel like with every experience, it's always been like I need to win, because even with my first baby daddy, when I left him in Durban, I said I'm going to Joburg for a week. I came here, third day I got a job and I left. And that was the end of it. I was in love. But once I started looking at the library in the 4.5 years of ideas and knowing that all the ones that came to life were from me, what would happen if I actually focused on me alone? Do you know what I would achieve? Then I left.
Wow. How have
Until
you managed to
today, he still
be?
has ideas. Oh
Yeah.
my God, I really need to pee.
Go pee. Go for it.
Okay,
I'll
go
hang
ahead.
here.
Oh, exciting. Okay, I'm back.
Cool.
Thank
I
you.
was doing a musical interlude.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Um. So, what you were just telling? Okay. So my question was going to be, um, your intensity. Is it if that's the story you chose to tell me? Is that was it about looking after your kids, or about proving this guy wrong, or proving to the world something? What is that fire?
It's
That was the
making sure
quickest
that
wee
I
I've ever known
succeed.
anyone to have, by the way. Congratulations. I think you get a gold
Pardon?
medal.
For
That was the
what?
fastest wee of 2020.
Oh, that's good. No, I mean, society wasn't involved in my issue. My biggest thing was because I already had my daughter, and my
Yeah.
biggest thing is, I think even my biggest motivation basically now is, if I die today, their entire existence and their privileges are paid for through me living my dreams and not being against the wall and surviving just to take
Hmm.
care of them. So if someone says to them they can't be an airplane when they want to be, they can say, no, you're lying, because my mom lived her dream and that's how she paid for us, and therefore everything is possible. So instilling that value of independence, and knowing that your background and wherever you come from, your environment doesn't determine how big you dream. You should dream bigger. You should write bigger dreams. You can achieve anything, and don't limit it to just there's the world. And so, I mean, I'm normal to my kids. I remember my 7-year-old sent me a voice note. She said, don't worry. I mean, anything that anyone says about you, I don't believe it, because I know you're amazing. So don't worry about what the public says. And she's 7. So her reality is people in BE talking about her mom in a leotard. and especially the ones that don't understand. But fortunately for them, their normality is what I am. And in fact, other people's mothers are weird for being normal. Do you know what I mean? Normal in their eyes, because I'm normal in their eyes. And I'm normal to the world. But then if they know difference as expression and know their normality as difference, and they can't then fear it. Because whatever they choose to be, it's not operating from fear but comfort.
This is going to be a weird left, but I don't know why I'm having weird feelings that. Uh, did you? What is your feeling on Brenda Fassie?
Even in London, I'll do an interview and they always say that I am like a reincarnation.
I
And
feel like
funny
I'm
enough,
talking to
even
Brenda
Papa
Fassie
Penny.
right now, and then the last things that you said and how you said it, it's like confusing for me.
What? What did I say?
No, just because I know that. Oh no, I don't want to say things like, but I think the way you're speaking about your intentions of how you want to grow your how you want your kids to leave that was seems similar to way to how Brenda spoke about what she wanted for Bangani. Um,
Oh,
that's there's some amazing stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I don't
that's
know. That's really interesting.
that's insane. Do you know? I remember when I was doing the roast and Papa Penny was there in the same panel, and he was telling me about how he got signed because of Brenda, and how he would flash her drugs and stuff like that, because he thought he was like, you are so like you're creepy, like you remind me of her, and I was her friend, like.
I
And
didn't
it's so
think of it
crazy when I
until
watch
the
other
last
things. It's
five
like
minutes.
I've said that before without ever hearing her say it, and I'm
It's
just like,
weird.
okay, cool.
I hadn't thought about it until the last when you were starting to speak about your kids and how you want them to feel about you and how you want to live your life. I suddenly twigged on that. It's quite amazing.
That's
Um,
insane.
I don't have you very much longer. Catherine asked me to ask you, have you where is it? Have you ever had
Mm-hmm.
a sex toy confiscated? That's what
Oh,
she
she
asked me to
knows
ask you.
the story. Yes, first time I went to Dubai, I remember so I landed and I carry it everywhere. I carry sex toys everywhere. And they asked me, they were like, there's something electronic in your bag. I was like, what are you talking about? There's everything I carry in my bag. There's nothing illegal. Then they open it and then they point at the packet with the dildo. And I was like, open it, girl. Because now I'm being too.
In the
I was just like,
airport.
open it. And then she opened it, and then I had to go sign for it to be confiscated because it's not allowed there. Women are not liberated enough. And in fact, even for me to play there, I know they had to cover some grounds and have some connections for me to be freely myself, because I wasn't going to be performing in the Punjabi. It's not the point you got me there for. So it's
Right.
like they took it, and I even advised the cop. I was like, it's the good one. Like, I hope you actually use you take it. And I could have been arrested then, but it's fine. Then they confiscated it. I landed in Dubai and I was unsexed until I got back to get another one. But I'll never take it to Dubai again, basically.
You've learned your lesson. You're not allowed guns, knuckle dusters, or dildos in Dubai.
Jojo's the only
It's a
problem.
deadly weapon.
Deadly IF, I know. That time they put sophistication, like, wow.
What are your other business ventures that you're obviously building the Moonchild Sanelly empire? I see it,
Mm-hmm.
and it looks incredible. What are
Mm-hmm.
your diversifications?
Well, I mean, right now, I know I've got, with Vodacom and MTN, I've got my voice. So you can get my voice to pick up your phone instead of caller tunes with a song. So I know the people
Cool.
that have, it's just me and Somizi. So we're the first people, and it's the first time the brands are not even competing. They're working together with this one. So
Right.
it's also the first South Africans to have their voice sold on telephone. So that's
That's
awesome,
cool.
passive income. That's like one of those that's just like, it's building. And then obviously I've got fashion, but now I've stopped because of time a lot. I've not been able to see clients. So with my fashion, which is what I studied, I literally make my stuff for myself.
Hmm.
And I've even gotten a designer to help me because I don't have that much time. So I know the next plan is with there's two um, online stores that have really really cool clothes and they love my brand that want to collaborate. So all I have to do now is make samples. But after the album, there's so much other things that are happening with regards to collaboration with the US and the UK. And then my album's coming out next year.
Sure.
So I've started with that and traveling the world for my collaborations. And then I've got, what else do I have? I mean, I told you about the bank, which I'm a shareholder now
You
for
told me
UK
about the
Bank.
bank. Do
And
you
then,
have your own sex toy range, or is that a lie?
funny, today they were asking me about that because a friend of
I
mine, because
read
I might be
about it
doing a
somewhere.
reality show. I might be doing a reality show. I'm still talking about that. Money,
Okay.
money, money. And then sex toys. There's an awesome lady. It's a couple in South Africa. They have like the factories where they have, and I buy for 50%. But now they've put me in contact with a Chinese distributor. And now my next move is basically getting the samples of the stuff that's not mostly available. But I'm always about people paying attention to their clitoris, and sex with vagina is not just the hole, you know. So it's like clitoral stimulants and like all those clitoral toys. If guys don't have technique for the clit, then they can use the toy. So I want to get like so I'm going to be doing samples. So it's either that now, or the conversation or the reality show thing came out because the person I'm doing that with,
Hmm.
he also called me about a conversation about an elite brand coming through. So sex toys, I'm probably, before I launch my own, gonna do some collaborations to just attach me to them, not just as an idea, because with some part of my image, there's sometimes when I take people,
What, like a dildo
I
with
take
your
them
head on
behind.
it?
Pardon?
Or like a dildo with your face on it and your hair?
Oh, so by the way, so for boys, what I want to do for boys is a pussy pocket with my picture, so they can have my poster. And it's like, for me, it's like, oh, so if you think I'm just a sex selling person, I can make money from your attention as well.
That's cool.
However you view me as, because if you respect my bank account, I don't care what you say, it doesn't affect me. But I can benefit from your ignorant mind.
I've got $1 million idea for you. I don't know if it ever happened. I met this guy in New York many years
Mm-hmm.
ago who, I don't know if he ever did this. He told me he was making crucifix dildos. And I thought that was brilliant. I thought that was such a brilliant idea.
I just said it in my head. I was like, "Fuck Jesus!" That is insane.
True. Do you own a nude club? Or is that also uh I just ask this
It's
because we don't know each other. I read these things. I'm
yeah.
just asking.
No, I don't own one yet.
Why does it come up all the time? Everyone asks you that question.
Yes. Do you know why? I feel like because of most of the time my brand is misunderstood. It's even worse if you write it in Zulu and not describe what I mean. Because what do you call a sex club in Zulu? And the
Hmm.
interview I did, the headline was, Moonchild is not opening a brothel. And the brothel part came from them asking me the difference between a sex club and a brothel. I'm like, a sex club is not selling sex. It's liberated people that don't get violated, don't care about their body shapes. Women don't get touched there, and they
I
naked.
read that quote. I read exactly that.
Yes, and it's like, okay, cool. How is it that the places that are accepted in society are the places where you get dragged at the parking lot, you get spanked at the club when you're on your own because you look thirsty, and they're accepted in society? Rape happens there. But in the
Hmm.
sex clubs, which is seen as taboo because of misunderstanding, ignorance comes from misunderstanding. And because of that, you already now interpreting this from your idea of what you think of me outside of what the words I'm using. And because you
Hmm.
don't understand it, you're not doing research. I even found I think it was Our Magazine that translated everything that happened to actually break down what was happening, because now it was just you and the brothel. I'm like, your fear is letting you not experience safety and freedom. But I will take you there, it's fine. It'll be a pinky at a time until it's a whole hand. But until you understand the freedom, the liberation, and confidence that is in that space and safety, then you will appreciate it more, because no one's immature there. I mean, people will be having a blowjob right next to you, you're having a beer, and you're just like, you know for a fact no one is going to touch you without consent. No one cares about your shape. No one cares about anything. You can be naked, but you're free. And these spaces exist. And sadly, these spaces, I'd see myself and my partner at the time, where we're the youngest and we're the black ones. And it's like, I need to bring this to my people for them to understand other levels of freedom and teach them about the things they don't understand. Because if you don't understand, you're not going to experience. And if you don't experience, you'll never know better. So yes, I still stand by it. And every brand I work with knows exactly where I stand because it's a reality. You can't fear where you come from and you come from sex. You don't say to your child to close their ears when they're learning about the anatomy and biology, but you're saying they must close their ears when they're twerking to a hip hop song, but they twerk in tradition. It's like very hypocritical. And I love the fact that kids have the access to stream because kids now choose what they want outside of what they're prohibited to listen to.
I mean, that sounds very reasonable and really cool. And
That's
my last question for you, and then I will let you go. Um, what is it? What do you think about yourself that you think most people assume, but they don't know really about?
They think they know me because I talk a lot. They don't realize I can say absolutely nothing when it comes to my personal things and shift the conversation because I talk a lot of rubbish. And a lot of the times I get people say, "Oh my God, oh, you've got brains," because they decided my freedom and my bum was whatever idea they had about that is then whatever I say, they surprised. So I know that they don't think I have a brain. And I'm like, I'm the most strategic person that you'll find. And I won't have to tell you about how you're singing my songs. You might start questioning it. So fine. So I don't live to prove my brain. I just use it in my product. And that's what you're consuming. And therefore the rest, that's why I'll make money from the reality show because no one knows my reality outside of the one I give you. But you will never know because I babble a lot.
So when you do the reality show, have you got a construct for what people are going to see, or is it the real you?
It's definitely the real me, but it's just that
You got a plan.
yes, it's strategic. All of it is calculated. I would never give you all of me for my demise, but I could give you a piece of me so that you're forever curious. And so, if I give you a piece of my brain, then I can give you a piece of my international world. I can give you a piece of how I don't get along with my family. That's already another drama part. I give you a piece. So, the longevity that comes with the volumes of books that I'm going to write when I'm done is a lot, and I know it's bits and pieces, and I've got a lot of time. I mean, I didn't die after malaria last year. I'm here. I looked at Jesus in the face. I was like, "Oh, you squint. If everybody knew that you didn't see them correctly, they wouldn't be scared of you, nigga." And first of all, I'm gonna in heaven, so let me go. So I was like, "Go." Then I was fine.
You got a brother, right?
I've got siblings.
Well, how would they describe you?
Well, now they say they don't know me, but it makes sense. I ran away from home 10 years ago, and they
Oh,
don't
I
know me.
see.
Yeah.
Who's the closest person to
I
you?
still say I'm still a black sheep. I've always been different. So I'm closest to my children.
How would they describe you?
They'd probably dance to describe me
Oh, that's
because they just
beautiful.
dance like me. They just like dance
Cool.
and they just want everything in the world.
Well, it looks like they've got it with you.
My daughter would probably say she's my dream maker because she sends me proposals every week. Well, not proposals. I always ask her to do the proposal. I'll be like, go Google how to make a proposal because if I'm dead tomorrow, you must know how to get money from people. So she wants to be a gamer. Then she wants to be everything. Now she's doing gymnastics. But she still wants to be a gamer. So she wants to create her own game. And I'm like, until we write a proposal, I'm going to give it to you. I don't want you to think the access is just from you talking about ideas because that's what her dad does and they have gotten him nowhere. So what I do is put them on paper and make them happen. And therefore, you should be like me to survive the world outside when I'm not here.
It has been such an honor speaking to you. I'm such a fan. You are bigger than life and the smartest person I know. And thank you for
Ah!
spending time with me.
Thank
You're incredible,
you.
really. I've loved chatting to you and appreciate and honored that you spend time on What's Your Poison.
This was so
And
amazing. Ah,
sad that we've never met. I am sad.
do you know
Um,
what? I've got a pool party on Saturday. I can invite you. And then I've
you
got a
can.
picnic at a race course on the 6th. That's my official birthday.
I'm in Cape Town. Oh, I'm in Cape Town. So sorry. I am up. You know, I do Amp Studios in Joburg. That's my baby. Do you know Amp
Oh,
Studios?
oh, oh man. Okay, fine. For
Do you know
now.
Amp? Have you heard of Amp Studios in Newtown?
Newtown, where?
in the Newtown Junction Mall, AMPD Studios.
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay. I run a culture hub there for emerging artists. It's a free recording studio, and
Yeah,
we do master classes there. We've got a stage with a PA. We do live streaming there. It's free for everyone.
didn't know
Do
that.
lots of it. We do amazing shit there. Amazing.
That's
Um,
insane. Okay, cool. I'll definitely check it out. I've got so many independent friends and like they struggle with the whole studio thing and like
we've
and
got
all like
we got in our studio a R1 million SSL desk that took me 5 years to get it in there.
what?
It's a top world class studio. You know who Trazor's moving in to start operating the studio for us.
Do you know I'm really
Um,
as well. We used to do open mics in Durban.
that man, can I tell you something? The one thing you and Trezor have in common, and you're alone in this, out of
Mm-hmm.
everyone I've done this show with, actually mostly anyone. When I first met Trezor, it was way, way back. He wasn't well known yet, and
Yeah.
he saw me. I think I was doing something. He said, I don't know who you are, but I want to talk to you." And he took
Mm-hmm.
me and he showed me his plan. He had a 10-year plan, and I've watched him play that plan out. And it was very interesting when you said earlier that you had this plan and this was on the plan. That was very, it immediately made me think of Trezor.
And we've never discussed this as friends.
Oh,
Ever.
you
And
must
so
bring it up with him. You must talk to him about that.
I'm probably gonna see he's always like I see him a lot, like to a point where I'll be like, Trezor, I feel like not spending my money. Can I please have an e-wallet? And he just does like my brother here. And when he just moved here, funny enough, I was costume designer for the song he did with AKA. So we bumped to each other on set. I was like, what? And from then we literally stayed in his flat eating tinned food for weeks.
So that's another. Trezor and I are very close. Catherine and I are very close. And Nosisi works at Amped. She runs
Yeah.
my Amped studio there. So if you ever want to go use the studios or go check them out, just speak to her. It's her baby. She's running it.
Do you know Sissy taught me how to use my vocal machine.
That woman is
Like
power. I'm
these
sorry.
three
She's
people
incredible.
are like these three people have literally like and Catherine still plays a huge role with my work. Like even my road manager now is through Kath. Kath has had my back since she knew my name without meeting me first.
She is she
She's
is a very
amazing.
special human being in this industry. She's a
I love
rarity.
I love her. And I remember when I was watching TV and I saw this lady with tattoos. And I always thought she was cool. And then
It turned
having
out
that
she was.
she always was. And it's like doesn't liking you back. It's that same thing where you like you've got people you grew up Simpiwa Dana. She loves me. She was tweeting about how she's gonna be in my album and how people don't know I also sing. And it's just like amazing. And Tandiswa, she loves me. Huma Sekela loved me. I remember the last time I played at Huma Sekela's festival, he said, I was in my panties. And first time he met me was 2013 at Red Bull Studios. And I asked one question. He said to me, "You remind me of a young Miriam. Anything you need in the industry, just ask me." Then over the
Wow.
years, he told me as I was
Phew.
growing and in its pace. And he got me to the festival and I was in my panties. And he said, "Go and teach them, my child. They need to learn this." And it was so great for me, even with the rejection that comes with people that are even younger. The legends I looked up to, my mom loved are respecting and seeing the bigger picture outside of what people see as just the picture they choose to see, without knowing. They could see it without me talking, and it was just like the most affirmative thing outside of whatever the world was doing, was saying, and they were rejecting. The most amazing thing was the people I looked up to saw me
Mm.
and backed me and just saw what it was. And Musim Kongo said to me, I was still a kid, I was still red with this hair, back, way over 10 years. And she said to me, "You're gorgeous. Don't let them change you. You're going to win. Don't ever let them change you." And I've never forgotten that. And I was opening up for her. And she saw me. This is before I even opened up for her. She just picked me from the people that were walking and said, "Yonganyam, you're beautiful. Don't ever let them change you. You're going to win." So
Well,
those are were bigger than
that's incredible.
they helped me being alone, even though they wouldn't have broken my mission in being alone.
Would you ever sign to a label now?
Not in South Africa. I'm signed
So
to
you
Transgressive in London.
oh, cool.
We're even dropping a vinyl, 26 November. I'm dropping a limited edition blue vinyl of the EP that I just dropped while working on my album.
I want one. Where does it go? Where do you get it?
Online, I can get them to send you the link.
Send me the
It's
link.
yeah, it's on. I think it's literally the same people Gorillaz are using. I think it's like a deal or something. But they currently doing limited edition vinyls in every color you want. So I've got a teal one. It's looking amazing.
Ah.
And yeah, so I am.
Um.
I've always sworn to never sign an essay. Do you know how crazy story? Oh my God, we'll never stop talking. I think we should have drinks. Do you know how crazy story, right? This one time I performed at the summer nomination party. So obviously it was label people, all that jazz. So this lady from this other label comes to, they ask for a meeting with me. Great. So I walk into there. I'm already working with Beyonce, right? No one knows. So I walk in there, I see pictures, and I'm like, if I ever had to sign a deal in SA, it would be for international collaborations, specifically for that.
And
And
just
so,
for that note, I just so you, I worked. You know, when I had a band many years ago, and
mhm.
that was our whole ambition was to do international collaborations. And the thing I learned was not one local label, no matter how big or small, has any ability to help with that. Zero, zilch, nothing, nada. It's all on you.
Yes, it's literally all on you. And when I went to that meeting, this lady was telling, I was like, okay, so let's just get cut to the chase. What do you guys want? Da, 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 I want to sign all that bullshit. And I'm like, I hear you. Great. Here's what I want. I don't want all these deals because I don't even know what any of your artists are doing. I see this billboard because of the company and I drive past here. But outside of that, I don't see your artists. I'm doing so much more independently. So what I want is I want to call you and say I want a song with Bruno Mars. Can you do that? She made the worst example. She said, that's like asking for us to call Beyonce to do a song. In that moment, I said, and that means you've got no business for me. Because you said the most impossible thing. If I've achieved the most impossible thing independently, and you've got access to these people and you say you can't, I asked for a lighter. I was like, guys, can I have a lighter? I'm done with this meeting. Because she started being emotional. I was like, you're even showing me if I had to sign with you, you'd be controlling because now you're emotional and I'm the artist. You're the boss. You need to calm down. So I'm not doing this anymore. You can't help me. I've gotten what you said is impossible. Therefore, bye. Got my lighter and I was out. And funny enough, because I do can, Midem. Midem is more
Midem,
corporate.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like
It's
business
for the
people.
it's for the industry. You're performing
Yes.
to the industry. Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. So there, I've met people from the labels like the US main one, like Sony Korea, and all those things. And I remember talking about this specific label, and I asked this guy, and I said, "So what's happening there? Because I feel like they're a shit show in SA." And he says to me, "Yeah, they're like our distant cousins. We don't really care. We just have a branch there." I was like, "Wow, South Africans that don't even know because of the name and the attachment. They don't know the attention that they're gonna get or not get because." It's the reputation. But meanwhile, the head doesn't is even talking like that.
Mm,
And how many people have access to meet the head of a label? Not many. Do you know what I mean? So it's like,
yeah.
yeah, it's crazy, man. It's
Look,
amazing
I
though.
mean, I think this is something that local artists don't understand, and the local labels don't even understand. And that
Mm-hmm.
is, we were a band many years ago, but we toured the shit out of the global market.
Yeah.
And one thing I can tell you is, and I'm sure you know this, you go to America, you go to Europe, and you tour, and you can make the biggest impact. But when you come back home, you're forgotten because the next band has slotted in right where you left off. You have to work so hard to open those doors. And here, I don't think a lot of people realize what it takes to actually smash that. I mean, what you're doing is outrageous. I mean, it is next, 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 next level. But it's,
Thank you.
no, it's that it is, no one is doing what you're doing. And the fact that you're doing it independently is actually, that's brutal. That's a real wake up call, you know? Good for you.
Yeah. Thank you.
You
I
bad.
feel like we could literally talk forever.
Well, I'm keen if you want, but you know what? I'm in Joburg a lot. I would love to have a drink with you in real life, but for
Me
now,
too.
I've just really loved chatting to you. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. It was freaking amazing. I forgot about even the people that are here. I'm just good. Like, thank you so much.
Cool, and keep rocking. And that's all I have to say. I'm glad you drank my whiskey. It was for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And good luck with your Bacardi sponsorship because Moonchild is sponsored by Bacardi.
Yes.
Good night, you. Sending
Good
you all the
night.
love, and hopefully I'll speak to you soon.
And I'll see you in Joburg.
See you in Joburg. This was Moonchild Sanelly on What's Your Poison? Later, Gator.